Good evening, palettes and mercs. Today we're going to be going over Big Red 40tech's BattleTech Light MECHS. Now, we may end up going through a couple more of the videos. It is a shorter one. I don't want to just spend 4 minutes on a video and then make a small video for each one of these. I think we may go through a couple more chassis today, or mech groups rather. But with all that said, grab your snacks, grab your drinks, and let's roll the film. BattleTech Light MECHS. As I said, there's a couple of different weight classes here, and they all seem to be shorter videos. So we may just do all 4 of those today, so that way it's a little bit more condensed.
In this video, we are going to be examining the battle mechs, which range in weight from 20 to 35 tons during the Succession War era. This will be a brief overview of the purposes of these machines on the battlefield, and why they are important in any formation, despite the fact that their size and weapon capabilities may seem limited in comparison to their larger...
You know, I've had more respect for some of the different weight classes because Mech Warrior tends to, unfortunately, lend itself more to, you start off with light mechs, you upgrade to the medium class, and then you never really touch the light mechs again, all the way up until you basically brawling with heavy to light mechs. And they never really get another chance to shine. And unfortunately, taking that mentality into other contracts doesn't necessarily end up being the best thing. I've noticed that a little bit more as I've developed as a merc, that sometimes bringing an assault mech doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a great time. It's not always going to be a brawl. Sometimes it's going to be, you need to get from this side of the battlefield to that side of the battlefield in about 5 seconds. So maybe using a locust is a better idea than using a heavyweight battle mech. But again, I think it leans itself more into the fact that tabletop and BattleTech is a little bit slower paced. So you can actually have time to think about that before you head into some of these missions. In some of the older Mech Warrior games give you a little bit more context as to what you're walking into instead of Mech Warrior 5 Mercenaries, where it's just like, we have this generic contract for you, and we're going to give you no idea where the mechs are, what the terrain's going to be like, beyond just like a brief description, because we just generated it in a back alley. And then your mech just happens to get stuck on a rock somewhere. You know, I really miss handcrafted maps, which, to be fair, Mech Warrior 5 Clans really started to bring that back, which is good. I'm glad they did that. But this isn't a video to bash PGI. I'm sure there'll be another time when I can do that, but let's continue on.
Cousins. Woe betides anyone who ignores the light mech during the Succession War era, and the era these videos currently are meant to cover, or in later eras for that matter.
I love that paint job.
Light mechs have a series of advantages.
I think this is a... This looks like a blackjack, but it has a little bit more metal on it. That's really cool.
And drawbacks. The main advantage of any light mech is their...
And by the way, I know I keep pausing. It's bad, but I love the spotlights on this thing. I love the fact that they've been modified to have spotlights, whereas I know I said I wasn't going to bash PGI in this video multiple times, but I need to say this. Headlights. Our mechs need headlights, PGI, which was why I was so happy that, another mech lab gave us headlights. Now, I know a lot of the tabletop and BattleTech crew is going to be like, y'all don't even get headlights And the answer is yes. In the base game, we've yet to get headlights. We do get thermal in MechWarrior 2. I think we got it all the way up to MechWarrior 4. And then for some reason, we just lost it. It was kind of like the Secession Wars. We lost a lot of good options with our battle mechs, but it's the most graphically entertaining that we've ever seen in a long time.
Low weight to engine ratio. A light mech can receive an engine relatively small to their overall weight, which will provide an incredible amount of performance, and the lighter the mech, the better the ratio. For example, the Locust, which is a 20-ton battle mech, runs a standard LTV-160 engine. This engine weighs 6 tons. The Locust has the ability to run at full speed at 129.6 kilometers per hour.
That's a fast boy.
By contrast, and for example, the 60-ton Dragon has a VLR 300 standard engine. This engine weighs 19 tons, almost as much as the Locust itself, and the Dragon can run 86 kilometers per hour.
Still pretty impressive for a heavy mech.
At these light ratings. Speed is their armor, and it can be used to force their opponents to have to make stupid rolls to land any reasonable chance to hit them. Speed is also a weapon, allowing light mechs to take advantageous positions, and allowing for them to hit enemies which are damaged, to focus fire on different directions, or to...
Again, I wish we had destruction like this. I wish we had destruction physics like this in MechWarrior. Because this entire picture looks so cool, but yet there is not a game I can think of off the top of my head that has such a physics engine. And we're in the future. We're at the point where we should be having Halo Reach extinction level battles with MechWarrior. Physics that rivals any other game, but yet I said I wasn't going to bash, and yet here let's move on.
Positions outside of enemy fire, but within their own weapon ranges. They are dangerous vultures to wounded mechs, and they are dangerous predators to mechs with limited rear armor. But this design does have its deficiencies. If caught in the wrong place, or if a lucky round manages to hit one of these mechs, the results can be, in a word, disastrous. A single round from an AC-20 landing on many of these mechs can make them evaporate or take maiming levels of damage.
I mean, that is true, but that's kind of the sacrifice you take going for speed, and then plopping an SRM-6 onto the back armor of mechs like these. I want to say that's again, I want to say that's a Highlander, but I'm used to Highlander actually having a sword. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Highlander.
The other drawback of light mechs during the Succession Wars is though they will have the advantage of speed, they do not have the advantage of firepower itself. Often they have limited weapon options, and those weapons skew towards comparatively low damage as compared to their larger cousins, once again. This model of design is not wholly true to some extent, however. There are marked divergences from this, such as the Panther, a 35-ton light mech which moves only 64 kilometers per hour, but has relatively large amounts of armor as well as a particle projectile cannon. It has the role of a light mainline battle mech. Another example would be the ambush and city fighting designed mech, often memed, known as the urban mech. These designs are outliers compared to their lightweight counterparts. Overall, light mechs, though often underestimated, can be decisive on any battlefield if utilized correctly. To undervalue them or to ignore them is often to open oneself up to a potential crisis on the battlefield. It's noteworthy that during the Succession Wars, light mechs were relatively cheap to produce and could be built in some level of frequency, even in the inner sphere. As backwards and as broken as it was at the time, meaning that their appearance on the battlefield often put them in roles that may be outside of their designed purpose. Funnily enough as well, the Panther, which we mentioned before, is used in great numbers.
I mean, it's almost like the battle armor to some extent. You field enough Panthers or say maybe enough of the light mechs, you can solve a situation and do so relatively cheaply compared to, say, the Atlas or the I don't know why you have a Mad Dog back here, like the Vulture, but because again, it is a clan mech, isn't it? So I'm a little bit confused on that one. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. Maybe it was an inner sphere design.
And is produced
like both,
frequently by the Draconis Combine, creating value in using lightweight designs to fill gaps in mainline units that their opponents may be struggling to do themselves. Quantity has a quality all its own, it seems.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. All the same, we'll see you in the comment section below.
Okay, so I was gonna cover some of the, you know what? I think we can at least get through the medium mechs as well. All right, let's do it.
In this video, the second part in our series, we're going to be examining the general purpose behind the battle mechs ranging from 40 to 55 tons during the Succession War era. This will be a brief overview of the purpose of these machines on the battlefield and why they are important in any formation. In fact,
you know what's funny is I didn't have much to say on the light mechs personally because that's just kind of outside of my general weight class of mechs I use. Like, sure, I'll mess around with the urban mech every once in a while, but for the most part, this is mainly my class of. Generally, the medium mechs are more where I like to thrive a little bit because you have the Hunchback, you have the Bushwhacker, as a couple of notable examples of which battle mechs I like. Again, the Hunchback gives me a lot of versatility on the battlefield, relatively fast, but can field some good weaponry. Of course, sometimes you have like the Griffin or the Assassin where they just, how they got accepted into the medium weight battle mechs is just beyond me. 6 extra tonnage for Assassin just makes me feel disgraced. At least the Griffin has the honor of wielding a PPC and an LRM system. I will give it that. Right. It's a decent mech. As much as I joke about it, it's a decent. It's a decent.
In this case, they are the heart of any formation. Though there may be larger and more powerful mechs, and though there may be faster and cheaper mechs, the medium mech is the unsung champion of BattleTech during the Succession War era. Cheaper and faster than heavies, but still heavier and more capable than lights, medium mechs can fulfill almost any role asked of them, and can do so with confidence under most circumstances. Medium mechs are the primary workhorse of the Inner Sphere's military, fulfilling almost every role imaginable across 3 of the 5 major houses, and fulfilling significant roles in the other 2 great houses as well. This stems from a series of advantages they have to offer. Medium mechs are easier to construct for the relatively backwards nations of the Inner Sphere, but are significantly more adaptable and capable than lights at any mainline role.
You know, we covered, I forget what its name was. I think it was the Thorn. The Thorn tried to be what the Panther was, and it just couldn't do it in that particular regard for the light mech side of things. I do want to touch on the Centurion here. I do like the Centurion. I love its design. I love how this is like a shield arm, so that way you can kind of cover the center torso. I think it suffers from the same thing its older brother, the Victor, does with this autocannon just sticking out the side here. It's a little unfortunate. If you could get it into the center torso, it would be a lot better. I think almost any mech that I truly enjoy has weapon systems that are integrated into the center torso, like the Hunchback, for example. The Bushwhacker, I think, kind of gets away with... I think the Bushwhacker gets away with being one of my favorite mechs because while, yes, it does have main guns on the arms, they're not necessarily its primary weapons. Like, for the most part, I would field an arrow force system or alarm system on the shoulder. So it's more a fire support unit than anything else on that front. You can field light rifles in the center torso and really get away with not having the arms on a Bushwhacker. So I feel like in that regard, it kind of sneaks its way out of those potential issues. It's kind of like the Hunchback where it's like you can basically get away with any build. But for the most part, the Bushwhacker should suffer any issues the Centurion does here.
On top of this, unlike heavies, which are relatively hard to produce, medium mechs can fulfill any role or any niche that is asked of them by these warring states. There is an answer to any problem through the medium mech weight range and chassis.
There's my beauty. It's the Bushwhacker. Although it's the new version of it, which kind of... I don't know why. I don't know why they updated the Bushwhacker, because this version of the Bushwhacker just... They really mess it up. Why does it look like a triangular prism here on the front of the Bushwhacker? What happened? Why'd you do this to it? Because hopefully I'll put up a picture of what the normal Bushwhacker looks like. This would be the one that pops in mind, at least. I don't know what's on the screen. It might be a gray seal gunmetal version of the Bushwhacker from MechWarrior 3. That one's the one that I think of when I think of the Bushwhacker. This, I want to say it's the Bushwhacker X2 variant that came out 3062, I believe. Is a little bit cursed, but don't get me wrong, I still love the Bushwhacker. I will accept it in any way, in whatever form it comes in. I just think it's a little bit...
Medium mechs can easily fulfill the following roles, in fact. Recon and reconnaissance, mainline battle mechs, long-range support mechs, close-range skirmish mechs, often referred to as brawlers. They can even fulfill the hard-hitting, heavily armored category in many instances at the cost of some firepower or mobility. Each one of these roles I described above can be serviced by mechs from this weight category, and can be done so in convincing capacity. What gives them this distinct advantage in so many respects are the versatility offered by its weight range. They have an engine-to-weight ratio that is still favorable, though not quite as much so as with light mechs. They can support significant portions of armor at this speed, making them more durable than their light counterparts. They can carry more sophisticated weapon systems, including the mighty AC-20, the heaviest weapon in the game in this era.
Now, to be fair, the Irby can do that too, but the capacity of ammo leaves something to be desired. And also, it only goes like 30 kilometers an hour, but, shenanigans. You can definitely get away with it, but this weight class does it a lot better.
And one which can be found in several models of medium mech. All of these factors can be combined to allow such a broad and diverse range of mechs to appear under the label of the medium mech lineup. An example of one of the best all-around mechs in the game is the standard Centurion class mech, the C.
Now, why are you gonna disrespect the Hunchback like that? No, I have issues with this. He's saying it's one of the best, and I'm going to take a few suggestions as to why, right? Arm shield here, which allows you to block incoming fire if you twist the torso quickly enough. You do have an AMS system on some of the later models of the Centurion, I believe. I could be wrong on that one. It's fairly fast, can be. You have a ballistic hardpoint here, and you also have a what is it? Missile hardpoint in the, I think it's the left torso. My problem is with this is that this arm is going to get blown right off, making the Hunchback the superior choice. It doesn't have the shield arm, but again, you're going to be able to protect this ballistic hardpoint a lot more safely than say the Centurion here with its gun arm situation. And with the Hunchback, you get a lot more options when it comes to missile hardpoints, energy hardpoints, ballistic hardpoints. I don't know. Maybe I'm a staunch Hunchback fan, but again, I can see where Big Red's come from with the Centurion. I do. I think it might be skill issue on my part, but to say it's the workhorse of the Inner Sphere, I don't know about that. I need a little bit more of a history dive on that one to really see. But if you're talking straight up firepower, I'm gonna go with the Hunchback on that one. Maybe this is perspective from the tabletop and BattleTech. I'm willing to concede that as well. To my argument, right? Because I don't know those sides well enough to give that distinction, but I don't know.
N9-A variant. It has weapons to fight across all ranges successfully. The powerful AC-10 autocannon fires at short and medium ranges. It has an LRM-10 missile launcher to support long-range fires, and when things come in close, it has additional medium lasers and one in the rear firing arc as well for protection from being swarmed by targets.
You see, we don't get that in the video games, so the fact that it can protect its back also does help. I think the Mad Cat also had, in some configurations, rear firing lasers as well, which is just, what a brilliant concept. Again, the video games can't necessarily display that as accurately as they should. I think Mech Warrior 2 would be the closest one that you could do that, because you do have the weapon cams. So if you were to like flip the camera backwards and then fire, you could have a way of like trying to control those lasers. I don't know, food for thought, I suppose.
When deployed in numbers together, in fact, they can cover one another's weakness, almost like a phalanx. Well armored for its weight and moving the average speed of a battle mech during the Succession War era, the Centurion is a perfect example of a balanced, powerful design that is a mainline battle mech, and one that can even punch above its weight class under many circumstances. To go into less detail, but to give an example of the flexibility of medium mechs, in the same weight category there is the ENF-4R Enforcer, a close-range brawler with an autocannon and large laser. More armored and has jump jets, making it a reasonable close-range threat, and again, capable of punching above its weight under the right circumstances. For long-range support, there are multiple options across the weight class, such as the Whitworth and the Trebuchet, both who offer significant missile payloads at long range, with the Whitworth having more mobility but less speed between the two of them and weighing 10 tons less. Another example would be the Griffin, a sniper mech that utilizes a particle cannon as well as speed.
You did not just... Okay. The Whitsworth, I have no comment on because I am not familiar with that mech yet. We'll do some research on that mech in a later video. So the Whitworth is fine for the moment. You did not just say that the Griffin is a sniper platform. My brother in hell. My brother in Satan. What do you mean the Griffin is a sniper? I mean, yes, it is a fire support unit. I will give you that. It is a particle cannon and an LRM-10 for most of its variants. My question is, it's the best use of it. It's the best use of it. However, I don't know. No, if I was going to field this thing as a sniper, I don't think I would use an LRM-10. Maybe upgrading it to an LRM-15 and using a medium laser for self-defense would be a better option, but the armor on this thing is the issue. It doesn't have speed as well. So I would want to make sure that I could cover that weakness of the sniper. Because if you're not going to get speed or armor, you have to have decent weapon systems. Again, you have two. You have LRM-10 and a particle cannon, which it's not the ER variant. So I feel like the Griffin is kind of lacking in those two regards. Like, again, I think the Griffin can be a decent sniping platform, but I would want to make sure that the Griffin can do enough damage to a target before it gets close enough to do any real damage to the Griffin. At least, again, that's my opinion from what I've seen from the games. It may play out different other scenarios, but that's why.
And long-range missiles. For recon, there's the example of the Cicada, the cousin of the Locust. Weighing twice as much, but almost matching its smaller cousin's speed, its own maneuverability is vital in its role as harassment or recon. Though it is armored much more like a light mech, rather than the average medium mech as a compromise to achieve this. There are multiple designs fulfilling more of these roles than I can cover in this video, but that is because we only have so much time. Because of the diversity of purpose and because of the frequency of their deployment and production, these are the best example of what mechs appear on the average battlefield of BattleTech. Capable of facing off against heavier mechs and capable of fulfilling any purpose to a satisfactory degree on the battlefields of the Inner Sphere, medium mechs are the true lords of the battlefield, because they are the ones who dominate it. Not just through the functions they serve, but by the sheer mass of metal they make up on these battlefields. Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. With that, I'll catch you in the comments section.
And again, I want to point out, when I disagree on these different mechs, this is not, I want to be very clear. I'm just poking fun at these battle mechs because I've had issues with them in the past, and I'm trying to engage in a conversation. I might have my heated opinions on battle mechs, but I mean no disrespect to Big Red. Matter of fact, I appreciate the fact that he brought up the Centurion and the Griffin, right? Because despite my opinions, I can actually see them working on the battlefield. And I appreciate the fact that he discussed them in lengths that he did. Again, no disrespect to Big Red. Like, when I go off about these mechs, I'm just doing so from the standpoint of, like, my thoughts and opinions are going towards these battle mechs and their potential they're potential creators, not at all towards Big Red in this instance. As a matter of fact, you should check out the original videos that were displayed here today. The BattleTech light mechs, medium mechs. This is the first time I've done 2 in one video, so make sure to put a like on each of those videos. Maybe subscribe to him for more videos that we will probably cover here in the future. But other than that, thank you everyone for stopping by and having a great time with me. Going over these 2 particular weight classes. We will go over the others in another video. And with that, this has been Call Sign Annika, signing out.